A long time ago, I didn't just show up to work as a worker, rock truck driver, or something else. It doesn't make sense to stay out of our way. You need to win. Tony Beets and his son Mike Beets, famous gold miners from the hit Discovery Channel show Gold Rush, have been given life sentences. This is a shocking news that has shocked the mining community and reality TV fans all over the world. The shocking decision was given yesterday in a Yukon Territory courtroom that was packed with people. It is the end of what many are calling the biggest criminal case ever to come out of reality TV mining. The father and son were found guilty of multiple charges, including massive environmental violations, claim jumping, false gold reporting, and what prosecutors called a criminal conspiracy of unprecedented size in modern mining history. They were known for their strong Dutch accents, colorful language, and aggressive mining methods. The famous Beets family business, Paradise Hill, was once shown on TV as a gold-producing giant. Now it has been revealed to be the center of what the police are calling a criminal empire built on deception and destruction. The investigation that brought down the Beets started 3 years ago when a rival miner named Parker Schnabel, who had been taught by Tony Beets, told the police that he thought some strange mining practices he had seen happening on nearby claims were wrong. What began as routine questions quickly turned into much bigger problems when inspectors found proof of repeated environmental code violations on a scale never seen before in the Klondike. What we found went far beyond taking shortcuts to make more money, lead investigator Catherine White said. The proof showed that people were trying to get around almost every environmental protection law in the region on purpose and for a long time. This caused damage that experts say will take decades to fix. The courtroom was quiet as Judge Robert Tamian gave the sentence, which had never been done before. His voice was firm and serious. The court has carefully considered the strong evidence presented and the jury's unanimous verdict on all counts. The seriousness and pattern of your crimes, along with your complete lack of remorse, leave this court with no choice but to give you the maximum sentence allowed by law. You are now sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole. Tony Beets, the 75-year-old boss known for looking like a Viking and giving orders full of bad language, stayed calm as the sentence was read. His normally sure-of-himself attitude was finally broken when the same sentence was given to his 35-year-old son, Mike. Mike, who had been taking over more and more of the day-to-day running of the family mining business in recent seasons, looked clearly upset as he realized what his future held. During the 11-week trial, many well-known names from the Gold Rush series testified. It was strange to see TV stars as important witnesses in a high-stakes criminal case. Former Beets team members gave the most damning evidence. They said they were told to do things that were bad for the environment when the cameras weren't running. Another famous miner from the show, Rick Ness, who used to work closely with both the Beets family and Parker Schnabel, gave important testimony about what he had heard Tony and Mike talking about during what prosecutors called the dual mining strategy, legal operations for TV filming and much more destructive, unregulated activities that happened off camera. Tony always said there was real mining and TV mining, Ness said, looking uncomfortable as he looked across the hall at his old co-workers. He made it clear that certain things should never be filmed, and he made sure we knew what would happen if we talked about them with anyone outside the crew. Minnie Beets, Tony's wife of over 40 years and the family's longtime secretary, gave one of the most shocking statements. People were shocked when Minnie decided to witness against her husband and son in exchange for immunity. She would give detailed financial records that showed how gold production was routinely underreported and complex plans were made to sell unreported gold through the black market. Reports say that Minnie's choice to work with the police has caused a rift in the Beets family. Monica and Bianca Beets, her daughters, have spoken out in support of their mother while being shocked and upset by the evidence against their father and brother. Both women were in court to hear the decision, but they chose not to talk to the reporters afterward and instead left through a private exit. Parker Schnabel, whose initial report started the probe, talked for 3 days about what he saw while working on claims next to the Beets business. The 30-year-old mining genius who started on the show as a youngster learning the trade from his grandfather talked about many times when he saw strange things happening at night on land that Beets owned. I looked up to Tony. He taught me a lot when I first started out, Schnabel said in court, keeping steady eye contact with his old teacher. But as time went on, I saw things that couldn't have been caused by legal mining. For example, at 3 a.m., water that should have been clear was running onto my land and being cloudy with dirt. I had to report it when test samples from that water showed levels of mercury and other chemicals that aren't used in legal proceedings. The courtroom atmosphere was made even more complicated by the fact that many Discovery Channel producers and crew members were there to talk about what they had seen while filming the show. Several directors said they didn't know about any illegal activities, while others said they had theories but didn't report them because they were worried about the show's future success. Christo Doyle, the show's executive producer who has been on the show's after-show segments, said that the production team had strict rules about protecting the environment while shooting, but they did admit that they couldn't see much of what was going on during the long times when they weren't on camera. Gold Rush films about 15% of the real mining season, Doyle said when he was being questioned by the other side. We have no way of keeping an eye on what happens the other 85% of the time. We relied on the honesty of our mining operators and their compliance with local laws. The case has brought up serious concerns about the oversight of reality TV productions. Critics say that the financial benefits of popular shows can create environments where illegal activities are encouraged by a lack of oversight. Discovery Channel said in a statement that they were shocked by the decision and that they had no knowledge of any illegal activities. Fred Lewis, a veteran who joined the show later in the seasons, talked about a disturbing chat he had with Tony Beets at a rare get-together of the group for fun. Tony had a few drinks and started bragging that the stupid environmental rules didn't apply to him because he knew how to get around them. I thought he was just acting tough because that's how he played himself on the show. I had no idea how bad things were. The prosecution used a lot of environmental evidence, such as before and after satellite images of places mined by the Beets operation that showed how protected wetlands were destroyed and rivers were illegally diverted. Environmental experts said that amounts of mercury and other heavy metals in some places were more than 200 times the legal limit. Todd Hoffman, who had been on the show in earlier seasons before leaving to do other things, was called as a character witness by the defense. This was a terrible idea because the prosecutors used the chance to question Hoffman about mining practices that had raised concerns during his time on the show. Hoffman said, "Yes, Tony and I did have our disagreements. He said my operation was amateurish and inefficient. Looking back, I wonder if that was because I was trying to follow the rules while he wasn't." The case became even more shocking when it was revealed that the Beets operation had crossed over into other miners' claims and been secretly mining gold from land they didn't own. Dave Turan, who now has his own show called Gold Rush Dave Turan's Lost Mine, stated that he found strange digging patterns along the edges of a claim he worked on a few years ago. At the time, I couldn't prove anything, but the math wasn't adding up, he said. We tested areas that should have had recoverable gold but found nothing, as if someone had already been there. Now I understand what was going on. The defense team, led by famous lawyer Jonathan Blackwood, tried to make the case seem like the prosecution was picking and choosing cases because they were jealous of the Beets family's success and Tony's big TV stardom, as authorities carefully showed environmental test results, financial records, and statements from former workers who took part in the illegal activities. This approach didn't work very well. During his final remarks, Blackwood said, "My client is a colorful character who plays a role for television." This defense plan fell apart when prosecutors played secretly recorded conversations between Tony and Mike Beets, talking about specific ways to hide environmental violations from inspectors. The prosecution has confused Tony Beets, the TV personality, with Tony Beets, the businessman. This case represents an unprecedented overreach by authorities who have been influenced by the dramatic portrayal of mining on television rather than the realities of the industry. In one very disturbing video, Tony could be heard telling his son when to use mercury illegally so that it would happen when inspectors were known to be in other areas. After the decision, some jurors decided to talk about their work without giving their names. "The evidence was simply overwhelming," said a 40-year-old woman on the jury. "As a jury, we tried to keep an open mind about the case so that we could separate the TV persona from the actual business practices. But what we saw and heard showed a clear and consistent pattern of intentional criminal activity. As someone who knows about mining operations, I was shocked by the calculated nature of the violations. This wasn't about making mistakes or misunderstood regulations," said another juror. "The Beets operation built their whole business around breaking environmental laws to make as much money as possible. The damage they did to Yukon waterways is beyond measure." The case has sent shockwaves through the Yukon's mining community, where gold rush tourism has had a big effect on the economy over the show's run. Local company owners had mixed feelings about the verdict. They agreed that the crimes were very bad, but they were worried about how it might affect the region's image. Tony Beets put the Klondike back on the map for a lot of people, Marion Clark, who has lived in Dawson City for a long time, says. "Although the show brought tourists and attention to our area, we can't stand the damage that's been done to our land. Mining has always been our way of life, but it should be the norm for responsible mining that doesn't harm the environment." As Tony and Mike Beets start their time in prison, there are still concerns about what will happen to their families' large mining claims and equipment. Prosecutors have said that a separate civil case will decide what to do with the assets. It is expected that large parts of them will be sold to pay for cleaning up the environment in the affected areas. The finding is a first-of-its-kind problem for Discovery Channel with one of its most popular shows. The network has said it will keep airing Gold Rush with its remaining mining operations. However, people in the business aren't sure if the show can keep its success without the Beets family. Chris Dumit, a popular former carpenter who now runs a gold room and has been on the show with different mining teams, said what many cast members felt when they were asked what they thought outside of the courts. "Today is a sad day for everybody. Nobody wins here. The land has been damaged, lives have been lost, and a shadow has been cast over an industry full of honest, hard-working people who do things the right way." The elder Beets finally spoke up as the police led Tony and Mike Beets out of court in handcuffs. He looked out into the gallery, which was full of reporters, former co-workers, and fans. In a moment reminiscent of his TV appearances, but devoid of any bluster, he simply said, "The Viking has fallen," and was then led through the door that would separate him from the mining empire he had spent decades building. Fans of Gold Rush have to reevaluate shows they've seen over the years because of the conviction. Scenes of the Beets family's mining successes now look dark and scary. Environmental groups have already started making educational tools about how important it is to have rules about mining that use clips from the show and proof from the trial. This case also brings up tough questions about reality TV makers' duties to make sure that the activities they film and make money from are done in a legal and moral way. Several network execs from different channels have asked for talks across the whole industry to set better rules for making sure that shows that feature extractive industries follow the law. Kevin and Monica Beets, Tony's other children, who often appeared on the show working in the family business, were not charged in the case because proof showed they did not have a hand in making decisions about doing things that were illegal. Both of them put out a statement saying they were shocked by how bad the violations were and asking for privacy while they figure out what to do next in their personal and work lives. As the Yukon mining community gets ready for the next season without two of its most important people, the Beets conviction is still having an effect on the business. The local government has said that all mining activities will have to go through stricter checking procedures. Discovery Channel has added more compliance officers who will be at filming locations even when the cameras aren't there. However, Tony and Mike Beets' unprecedented life sentences are a stark reminder of how serious environmental crimes are and how dangerous it is to think that being famous might protect wrongdoers from being held responsible.